At the heart of this Liberal scandal is the payment under Minister Philip Champagne's department, is the payment of at least $40 million to companies that did not meet the funding criteria. And I say at least $40 million because some of the media reports seem to indicate that that's probably the bare minimum. We're talking about other tens of millions of dollars that went to new funding streams, new companies being created under funding agreements that did not accord with the original funding agreement with the federal government. So in my view, that raises criminality. And I know that the original report from RCGT put restrictions that this is in no way an admission of any liability, civil or criminal. I know that no police agency has taken this on their own. So I'm going to turn to you, sir, because I know that part of your department, there is a mandate to turn matters over to the police where you discover criminality. So I'd like to ask you specifically as to what that threshold is. What is that legal threshold or administrative threshold where you believe that the police need to investigate? And to give you an example, when police investigate any crime, from shoplifting to homicide, their governing doctrine is, do we have evidence of probable and reasonable grounds to charge someone or to arrest someone, which is distinct from the prosecutor's threshold, which is proof beyond a reasonable doubt before anyone can be convicted. So what is the threshold, legal or administrative, within your department?
So typically in these kinds of situations where we're auditing a program and there are matters that come to our attention that raise questions about wrongdoing, we will follow the trail as far as we can. We'll gather as much information as we can. We will make a determination at some point in time, once we hit a sufficient amount of evidence of wrongdoing, to turn it over to law enforcement. Now, historically, there have been a number of cases where that's happened. The sponsorship scandal might have been one of them. I'm not entirely sure. But there were definitely examples where, for example, with the correctional investigator, his conduct himself, we turned matters over to the RCMP. There were other files where there was potential fraud that we turned over. We are not in the business of determining mens rea. The guilty mind is not our area of expertise. We gather facts, and when we feel that there is a risk that there might be criminality, and it's not the level of reasonable doubt, it's not the level of sufficient grounds to proceed with an investigation, we turn it over to the RCMP. We allow them to determine whether they're going to seek a production order or a warrant, and they do their thing.
So what that tells me, sir, is that your department, the Auditor General's mandate, is an extremely low threshold standard. It's not a mens rea standard. It's not a police standard. It's not a prosecution standard. If you uncover in your belief some evidence, whether that's a little bit of evidence or a multitude of evidence, that could constitute criminality, you're going to refer this to the police.
I think I would qualify that by saying the Auditor General Act gives the Auditor General the ability or the authority to inform senior public officials about matters discovered in our audit.
Stop you right there, sir, just because of a shortness of time. I've identified, just on reviewing the material that I've reviewing the material from RCGT, I've identified 2 potential criminal charges that this government could be facing, as well as the company in question, SDTC. That is government fraud pursuant to Section 121 of the Criminal Code and fraud pursuant to Section 380 of the Criminal Code. 380 of the Criminal Code says everyone who by deceit, falsehood, or other fraudulent means, whether or not it is a false pretense within the meaning of the act, defrauds the public of any person, whether ascertained or not, of any property, money, or valuable security is guilty of an indictable offense.
And that is your time, I'm afraid, Mr. Chair.
I finished off by reading out to you Section 380 sub 1 of the Criminal Code, which speaks to fraud. The allegations, in my respectful view, sir, as a former Crown attorney, raise this to a possible fraud investigation, particularly when you're talking about grants, free money, free taxpayer money to startups with ties to own senior management raises a very, very high threshold, in my view, of criminality. My concern is this. Given the RCMP's handling already of Justin Trudeau's Aga Khan affair, the illegal vacation, most recently the SNC Lavalin affair, where he refused to cooperate with the RCMP.
1 second, Mr. Brock. I have a point of order, please. Ms. Khalid, yes.
I would like to question the relevance of what Mr. Brock is asking.
I actually don't think that's a point of order. Mr. Brock has the floor.
Relevance is definitely a point of order, Mr. Chair.
I find his questioning to be quite illuminating and in line with this committee's review of this question. And Mr. Hayes has proven himself to be a very able witness, and I'm sure he will provide any information that he feels relevant in this. And if he does not, he will say so as well. So, Mr. Brock, the floor is yours again.
Given how some Canadians, if not millions of Canadians, feel that the RCMP mishandled both criminal investigations involving our sitting Prime Minister, is there any prohibition from your department of referring criminality with respect to the handling of this particular scandal to the Ontario Provincial Police, in addition to the RCMP, who also have jurisdiction over the entire province of Ontario? Is there any impediment to do so, sir?
I would say that the normal course for us is to deal with the RCMP in matters such as this. I don't know whether or not we have referred a matter to another law enforcement agency before. For example, if we ever came across an individual situation where we might engage with Ottawa Police or OPP, I don't know if we've done that before. I don't believe that there's a prohibition, and certainly there wouldn't be a prohibition from us responding to a production order or a warrant from.
My last question, sir. Are you prepared
Briefly.
to table the unredacted report from RCGT to this committee?
I think that would be a matter for the department. I haven't reviewed the redacted or the unredacted report, but I think that would be a question for the department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brock. Mr. Hayes.